Good. I'm good, guys. How you doing?
Good,
Doing
good.
well, doing well.
All right, Maya, you're in, so I'm going to drop out. I'll see you guys at the end.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. And Drew, you're doing a short presentation first, right? And then we're going to chat about it.
Yep, I can. Yep, I'll share my screen. I'll run through that for around 10 minutes or so, and then we can have any questions or what have you. Happy to go over those.
That sounds great.
Awesome. Go ahead and share my screen.
I think we can start with camera just so you get a chance to introduce yourself and then we'll hop over.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll stop sharing then. No problem.
Yeah,
Yep.
no
So
worries.
everyone. Yeah, absolutely. So just so you guys who don't know me, my name's Drew Michaelis. I'm the market manager here at PlayVS in the DMV area. Been working at PlayVS for around 3 months now. Came over from Airbnb before this. Always had a huge passion for esports and playing video games with my friends. Never really knew I could make a career out of it until I really started looking into esports more. Once I saw PlayVS and everything that they had going on there, which I'll get into in the presentation, I was like, this is something I want to be involved in. Always loved sports, whether it be traditional sports or esports. And once I kind of saw the mission there, and I've worked in education in the past, and was super excited to join the team. And I'm super excited to be working with you guys. And thanks to the game gym and everyone there, so for this opportunity to speak with you guys this afternoon, this
That's
morning.
awesome. Well, welcome. We are excited to have you here with us. And like Josh said earlier, we're going to hear about high school esports and then collegiate esports. So this is our high school section. And I'm excited to hear about this because, I when I was growing up, there was no esports in high school. There was no esports in college, actually. So,
Yeah,
the kids are really lucky nowadays. So let's hear about that.
yeah, absolutely. So let's hop in and share my screen, and let me know when you can see it.
Yep, I can see it just fine.
Um, where is my? Why am I not seeing where to present this? Oh, there we go. It was just blocked out by the Zoom. All right, perfect. I work in esports and I still have technical difficulties. Um, awesome. Yeah. So, guys, I'm here to talk about Play Versus high school esports. So, this is sort of esports 101, just a quick rundown of what Play Versus is. For many of you who are not familiar with Play Versus, it was founded in 2018. We are one of the largest, if not the largest, amateur esports platform in terms of high school esports. We operate within all 50 states. We're partnered with around 25 of the state associations there, but we'll get more into that in a second. So a little bit about me, as I just mentioned, I'll kind of skip over this, but like I said before, came over from Airbnb around 3 months ago. And before that, worked in education for a travel company called EF Education First. So I'm sure many of the students that are watching this will probably recognize the posters that are up in your guys' classrooms and whatnot for the study abroad programs. Um, but super excited to be back in the high school space and working here. Awesome. So let's kind of dive into this here. 1 second. There we go. So for many folks, I'm sure you guys are many of the students who are definitely familiar in terms of esports, but the difference between video games and esports, video games being much more recreational, much more for personal enjoyment, individual focused. What really kind of got me interested in esports was the competitive and structured and team-based environment that it offers. It really gives the students the opportunity to participate in something where they're going to be learning the exact same values that they would be in terms of traditional sports, which I think is awesome. I know when I came over to start working at Play Versus, my parents were still like, what is esports? Like, how does this operate? How is this different from playing video games? So I had to give them this presentation as well and kind of like show them that there is a ton of different value add in terms of esports and what can be gained from it.
That's amazing that you gave this presentation to your parents. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I made this
Just
within like my first like
pulled up the
2 weeks.
PowerPoint.
Yep, exactly. I had to give it to them. Had to give it to my aunts and uncles too, because they were so confused. To be like, wait, so what is esports? Is that just playing video games? And I was like, nope, much more, much different. Learning the exact same kind of values that you would learn whether I was playing soccer growing up and hockey. The same team-based environment. It's structured. We require coaches to be a part of the program. It can't be student-led, so it's kind of giving those students the safe space to sort of play and kind of hone their craft. Awesome. So esports and education. I know when I'm talking to a lot of principals and admins, they're like, well, where does esports sort of fit into this, our kind of education sphere? Our focus is really around student achievement, where like one, recognizing the students' participation in esports. We are the only amateur esports company that has a partnership with the NFHS, which is the National Federation of State Associations. So think of it as like the NCAA of high school sports. So we can actually recognize esports athletes in many of the states that we work with as actual varsity athletes. So they'll be getting varsity letters just like anyone on the soccer team or football team or hockey team would, which I think is really awesome in terms of recognizing that student achievement.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool. And then in terms of, we have scholarships, or there's obviously a ton of scholarships growing in esports. Obviously, I think when I was in college, I don't think esports was offering any kind of scholarships. And I have a slide on that too in a second. But obviously, there's been a ton of different career paths that people can go down in terms of esports. I mean, just look at me, for example. I'm now working at an esports company. Never did I think when I was in high school that would be possible. But now there's all these different kind of routes that you can kind of take. And obviously gives you a great interest in sort of like the STEM career path, which I think is awesome as well. Then obviously you're going to be focusing on leadership and teamwork. And then lastly, obviously being a better digital citizenship and sort of like having that kind of responsibility while online and playing in a more structured environment. We can kind of probably all attest to some of those internet trolls you find when you're just playing recreational video games. So we definitely want to remove that component, and we definitely want the players to be more responsible going forward, which I think this definitely helps with.
Definitely. That's so important. I'm really glad to see that you include that section of it, that part.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And this is kind of like overlook in terms of like the games market. So in terms of like esports is like $1 billion industry. The games market in total though is over $160 billion when you look at the compound annual growth rates, which is insane to think about. To put that in some perspective, the film industry is around $40 billion and the music industry is around $30 billion. So this is more than both those combined plus some. So the amount of kind of jobs and career paths that are going to become available because of like how big this marketplace is truly incredible. And I don't think everyone kind of fully understands that when they think about video games and esports. So it's definitely something I really wanted to highlight there. And then in terms of, like I said before, for scholarships, we have over 15 million. There are right now in the US over $15 million in scholarships. Careers can go down a whole different plethora of different places, but in terms of art, audio, engineering, as I mentioned, a lot of the STEM focused activities. I know a lot of my colleagues over here at PlayVS actually started as coaches, and they came over to the actual company side. So a lot of them were IT directors beforehand, and they all kind of credit that background all to their interest in esports growing up and playing video games and kind of messing around on the computer and just kind of like poking and prodding around that interest. And it honestly grew into a great career for them. So it's definitely super exciting and definitely something I know that when I was talking to my parents about this is like, hey, like, this is a legit career path that people can pursue, which I think for some of maybe my parents' age don't fully understand that, but it's definitely something that is increasingly growing, and I think more people are becoming more aware of. So this is just kind of some kind of skip over this. I know we don't have a lot of time, but it's some testimonials for some of our coaches here, which is obviously great to see. And so this is like just an example of one like esports computer lab that was set up in Massachusetts. So this is
yeah, League. That's my game.
So yeah, this is an example of like one. This is obviously it's a little bit different. Everything that's going on in 2020 with the world's upside down, and a lot of students won't be going back to school directly. But a lot of the schools that we have actually started to work with, and they've gotten programs up and running. They've actually been able to get grants and all that to kind of fund different kind of esports gaming labs, which is really exciting. And this is just one example of it in Massachusetts. As I said, we partner with a ton of different state associations. I believe we have 24, 25 right now. So we're able to offer actual legitimate state championships. I'll get into our season structure in a second, but this is just a photo of the Massachusetts State Championship. This is.
I like the corgi in that photo.
Yeah.
Support corgi.
State Championship. Yeah, this is the Kentucky State Championship photo. But yeah, just like I said, to the season format here, a little bit. So we have our preseason starting in a couple weeks in September. So it's a little bit different this year than it has been in the past. This slide hasn't been updated just because of COVID. Our regular season will be in October and November, with the playoffs finishing up in December this year. And then we have a spring season as well, with the preseason starting in February, regular season throughout March and April, and then playoffs in May. Playoffs are a single elimination bracket. And then we obviously will, we take care of all the scheduling, all the league structure, the match generation codes and all that is all taken care of by PlayVS, which is super easy, a lot less heavy lifting in terms of the coaches aspect in terms of their end. So which is nice. But yeah. I can kind of run through these really quickly, but this is for a school that would be interested in participating. If it's you have to get, and this is for any coaches or teachers are watching this, you'd want to kind of talk to your administrator, look at like what space you might have. This is obviously all changing because of COVID. Students are able to play from home this year for the fall, which has been different than the past, because in the past I always kind of related it to, you wouldn't send your football team out to play without a coach. Why would you send your esports team to go out and play without a coach? So we always used to require that all the students be at the same area with the coach present, and so on. That's obviously changed due to, obviously we need social distancing, and the nice thing about esports is that it does lend itself to being played socially distant. So we are allowing students to play from home this fall, with the coach will be this kind of in like, will be obviously in the match in the lobby and all that, and can watch that way.
And voice communications, I'm sure they're on some sort of either Discord or something else that the coach can monitor the kids.
Yep, all through Discord, or they can also, like a lot of coaches decide to stream the matches, and so on. So they can also do that as well. For coaching staff, obviously we can kind of skip through this as well, but it's a very simple process. The coach would sign up, they get a link, and they can then they can send that email link out to their students that are interested, and they would sign up right onto their school's page. And I'll quickly run through what that looks like. One thing that I will just mention quickly is that we do actually have publisher integration with all the titles that we offer, besides, I believe, our newest one, Overwatch. We don't have that set up just yet. But in terms of everything else, there's going to be no manual match reporting. It'll all be automatically downloaded from the data from the game, which is super exciting, super easy. And it's like, we actually work very closely with the game publishers. So it's great to have
awesome.
that.
Making sure it's all legit. So I'm sorry to cut you off. I think we only have 1 minute left. This is all great content, but if you have sort of any final thoughts, especially I would say any advice that you have for students, or really anyone who's looking to get into esports. You talked about different career paths. Do you have any advice about getting into this industry?
Yeah, I mean, the more opportunities there's so many opportunities that are coming around literally every day there I see new job postings, in terms of like, I'm very in tune with what's going on in the industry now that I'm in it. What I would honestly focus on is like obviously playing at high school is great, and having like this, obviously still find the enjoyment of it. I don't think it's great when you start to play so much where you're not finding the pleasure in it. But I would honestly, the biggest advice I would give is probably I know a lot of students typically think like, oh, like twitching, like, and streaming is kind of like the way it's going to move forward, which is great. And we think it is a huge part of the way the sport that it is going to move forward. But there are so many career paths beyond just streaming or commentating or actually playing that go behind the scenes, which I highlighted in a few slides ago. So I would say just broaden your horizons. Like, nothing is honestly like shoot for anything that you think is possible, because it really is. Like, I never thought in high school that I'd be working at an esports company and playing, now that I'm like playing my favorite games back then in high school with my friends. Now I'm actually like working for a company that works with the game publishers and all that. So honestly, anything, like, show your parents this presentation. I can try to share it out to whoever is here. I can send it to the game gym, just to show them, because I know my parents were skeptical when I first started, but there is so much promise in this industry and so much you can get from it, just like you do in any traditional sport. So just keep pursuing it, keep pursuing your passions, and feel free. I put my email address in the presentation as well. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'm always happy to answer any questions, whether you be a student or a coach or a parent. Always happy to help.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for this rapid fire session that had so much good information. Thank you for giving us your contact info and inviting us to reach out. I'm sure some of us will. And yeah, just thank you so much for being here with us and telling us about high school esports.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. To Game Gym, all you guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Drew.
Yeah, have a good weekend.